Now, not all of us have a show-stopping garden in the backyard. It might be zero desire, but for most of us, it's just time. You know, we're busy doing work.
When you've got a small space to work with, it's super important to find out from the homeowner what they really want.
So, Jack, what was your idea when you started to take out the old lawn?
Well, yeah, I didn't have much luck with the lawn. There's just a lot of shady spots, so I was thinking maybe some decking or something out here, just something to, you know, because there's not much space inside, so having a bit of living space out in the garden would be great.
So I'm thinking about putting in 3 modular landings with some built-in furniture, so Jack and the family will have loads of space.
And then as far as the garden goes, sort of plants that give you contrast, like lots of strappy plants, and then next to it something that's really nice and neat and a ball, like highly detailed. But, mate, you're a chef. Your talents are wasted out here. I can do this. I've got help.
Done.
This brick wall, we're going to paint white, so it really draws your eye. But we are going to put a couple of rusty screens on it to soften it. Now, I've got a really thick matte roller on there because the brickwork's got lots of texture. Put a heap of paint on the roller, go over it slowly, and concentrate on all the little nooks and crannies. This is one of the 3 frames. Now, if you can build a sand pit, which is just the 4 sides on the outside for the kids, you can build the frame for this deck. It's exactly that, 4 sides, and then inlaid with 4 50mm centres. All of this is sitting on the ground, so it's important that this is treated pine H4. That means it can go in contact with the earth. We're going to clad it with a beautiful spotted gum decking, so from top, it's going to look like the builders have been in, but the frame underneath is as simple as putting A into B into C. Have a look down that line. Can you see down that line how straight that decking board is? Because timber's a natural product, they tend to bend and cup a little bit, but that one, well, I reckon on next week's show I can make a pool cue out of it. But I'm going to start with it because it's nice and straight, which means if I measure off that the whole way across, all the other boards will be straight, and it means when I'm finished, everything will be straight. When you're building a deck, you need a couple of things to make it as easy as possible because it's very repetitive. For starters, this little drill has a head on it, so when it goes in, it stops at the right height, but it also gives you the large head that hides the head of this flush with the timber. Secondly, if you can afford 2 drills, it's great because it means you keep going without changing your bits all the time. All these little yellow markers are spacers at 4mm. It means I can lay the whole deck out, screw off about every 6th or 7th one, and keep going, getting the whole deck down before I go back and screw them in a nice straight line, because I've either used a string line or a chalk line to mark the centre of this treated pine that I'm screwing into. When it comes to getting a nice straight edge on the ends of your deck, it's a lot easier to mark it out with a pencil, nice and sharp, and then cut the excess off rather than trying to butt them all up straight. Jack, we're about halfway, so what do you think?
Oh, it looks awesome. Yeah, it looks really good.
I mean, the option of a lawn, really, with the shade that you've got around here, and the amount of work you'd have to put in, there's kind of no chance. But this, the decks look good. We've covered them with plastic, so while we bring the soil and the plants in, we're not going to ruin it.
Yep.
But I'd say we're about halfway, which would suggest to me it's about lunchtime, brother.
Hold your horses, mate.
Oh, I can't wait. I eat like a horse too. As far as my levels go, I've raised the garden beds up a little bit. It's all the soil that's come out from underneath the 3 decks, plus we're adding some mulch and compost. It's like cow manure. This is a very sandy soil here, so I don't have to worry about drainage underneath my 3 decks. But if you're on heavy clay, maybe the decks have to sit on top and the garden bed is a step down, just so you don't have to worry about drainage. Don't worry about the treated pine being in contact with the soil. It's H4, it can go underground. It's the decking here that you don't want to be touching the soil. Now, you've got to agree, the white painted wall looks a lot better than the old brick, but at the moment it's working like a massive reflector. It's highlighting my eyes, but it's making them squint at the same time. So, to soften it, we've got these 2 store-bought down at Bunnings rusty screens. They're about $90 each. Now, these guys are water houses. They're a screening plant. They're a lily-pilly, but they're larger than what we normally plant. Now, you might think, well, why am I putting such a big plant in a small courtyard? Well, from the back of the house, a negative is that you can see that block of units. These guys will get to 4 or 5 metres. You can cut them back and keep them to a screen or a hedge so they don't take over the backyard. Block that out, give you more privacy and turn this into a really intimate space.
Here we go, boys.
Oh, stop it. Now, this garden bed's probably broken up into about 4 different zones, but we're going to tie things in together. Now, if you have a look at the base of this one, you'll get the gist of it. At the front, little pittosporum called hole-in-one. Now, they're a great little plant for a busy family because they keep that ball shape. If you want to put them into a hedge, you can plant them about 50 centimetres apart, give them a haircut a couple of times a year, and it works really well. But if you plant them just a little bit further apart than that, they can just fill that shape in. I guarantee you won't have to touch them for a couple of years. Behind them, we've got a contrasting foliage because we've got the dark and the lime green there of Raphaelensis oriental pearl. We've got a few grasses to fill in the places and some lilies. And then we've got a magnolia teddy bear. The reason why I've gone for them is because there's one next door and it's doing spectacular. So if it's doing well there, chances are it's going to do well here. That's a great way to pick your plants. Now, even with the screens up, the white wall is very eye-catching to a negative on a hot summer's day. So to soften it and get a hedge sort of through here at waist height, I'm planting some more magnolias. Now, unlike the little gems, the teddy bears, and even the deciduous ones, this one's called Cinderella. If you give it a haircut, it stays nice and compact, plus it flowers its head off. I've seen these where there's been that many flowers, you can hardly see the foliage. And as far as perfume, well, I reckon it's right up there with jasmine. Lots of people are of the belief that you don't water in the middle of the day because you're going to burn the leaves of the plants. Now, there's a chance that'll happen, but it's far more important that these plants get a bit of moisture now, and I can worry about a few burnt leaves later. These outdoor seats also double as storage. Stole my line.
I don't need anyone to tell me I'm going love crazy. Another look and I'm feeling helpless. I'm going love crazy.
Mate, what do you think?
Mate, this is fantastic. It really is.
I reckon it's one of the best uses of a small space that we've ever done on the show. And without compromise, it is a very usable space. Yeah. Think about what you had here before and how much luck you'd had in the garden.
Yeah.
Not much. We've improved the soil, we've planted tougher plants. You are going to enjoy relaxing in this space rather than having to worry about and work on the plants. So what's your favourite part of the garden?
Mate, I just think the fact that we'll be able to use it more and my daughter can dance around on these little platforms.
Well, this could be a bit of a boardwalk. She might end up as a supermodel.
Potentially, yeah, that's the plan. Thanks very much for your help.
Thanks for feeding me. But, mate, that doesn't count as chefing. I could have made that.
You probably could have too.